Hey, Miguel Rogers here for the Cage Rage podcast, and we're doing a wage rage, which means I got Anthony Scott Piatt on the other end. ASP, as we like to call him, is going to make some picks. We looked at the odds for some of the fights this weekend earlier in the week, and right now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the odds with Anthony, maybe make some picks here, and we'll review the odds with another wage rage as fight day comes up here during the week. So, Anthony, you ready? We're looking at the Disney Health and Sports Park this weekend. Carson, California, hosting the Premier Boxing Champions on Fox. World title fight in the welterweight division. The main event WBC titleist Shawn Porter putting his belt up against Yordenis Ugas. Ugas, a grizzled Cuban veteran who had a good comeback story a couple years back, and now he's in a world title fight. You got Porter minus 350, Ugas at plus 290 in the main event. How do you see that one?
That one I've got running. I see it Porter by decision. I mean, he's lost to Kell Brook and Keith Thurman, some pretty good fighters. He's won against Adrian Broner, which I don't see as much of a big deal, but Paulie Malignaggi, who you've done some work with, he's beat him, Andre Berto, Danny Garcia, so he's beat some guys, and Ugas, I think, so, as you mentioned, some of the Cuban fighters lately have sort of underperformed to the hype after getting in the mid parts of their careers and whatnot, so I see Porter by decision in this fight, nothing to bet on it.
Well, let's just be clear. Ugas doesn't qualify like a Rigondeaux or like an Erislandy Lara as a top shelf, top of the line Cuban. He was more of a hard working Cuban on the national teams and things, so they are all elite fighters. But he wasn't one of the guys like the other guys, gold medalists and that type of resume. That's not what you get with Ugas. With Ugas, you get a guy who turned pro, took a couple of losses, had some time off, and then really made a comeback. Did the BBC a little bit of a favor, taking a couple of fights on short notice where he pulled off victories, and that started his comeback around 2017. So now he's worked his way here. But I think I agree with you. In Porter, you're talking about a guy who's been a world champion, had lost the world title, finally fought his way back to it, and he did all of that operating at an extremely elite level. Losses to Kell Brook, losses to, as you pointed out, Keith Thurman. Then you're in a situation there where you're losing the world champions, you're losing the elite guys, and Porter wasn't exactly beat up in those fights. You know, he was in those fights. They were probably losses. You know, I'm not arguing that, but he's operating at an elite level. Ugas is trying to get there. He hasn't proven it yet.
I agree.
Now, if the fights in support are the ones that we're looking at in the same fashion here. We got a welterweight 10-rounder, and you got Abel Ramos and Francisco Santana.
Yeah, this is I'm going to make my dog pick. So, you know, I don't do too many dog picks. I really think the underdog is going to win here. Francisco Santana, 25-6-1, only 12 knockouts in his 25 wins. Abel Ramos is plus 165, 23-3-2. He's got 18 knockouts. He fought Hooker to a draw, Maurice Hooker, who's on our DAZN card. So if you hang around and watch all three of our boxing wage rages this week, you'll see Maurice Hooker. He fought Abel Ramos to a draw, but he's on a 5-streak win. Baron Cheek, he lost to him, but it was a great fight. I loved his tenacity in it. And what I saw in that fight, even though it was a loss, added to all his wins, looks good against Santana. Santana, he's lost 3 of his last 6. He's lost to Saddam Ali, Jose Benavidez Jr., but then Mahanri Montes, who was 32-6-1 when they fought, and who is now only 35-8-1. So he's lost 2 more fights, and he's won 2 more since that fight. We're not talking about a top-shelf guy beat Santana. I'm going to go with Ramos by decision for a dog pick of plus 165 on that one.
And yeah, you got Ramos at 165, Santana on the plus side, or rather on the minus side as the favorite at minus 190. And then we go to heavyweight action, 8 rounds of heavyweight action. And, you know, if you catch our other wage rates, we were looking at British heavyweight Daniel Dubois. Dubois 9-0, So you're getting there a look at a guy who may be coming onto the world scene here shortly. In this fight, we've got veteran Amir Mansour taking on Efe Ajagba. A similar story on the American end. He's got a Nigerian background out of Texas. He's a minus 1,500 favorite against the veteran Mansour. Mansour plus 1,000. Mansour over 40. Mansour recently going through a suspension for a PED type of blood test failure. So Mansour is here kind of to give Ajagba the push. At least that's what the promoters are hoping with these type of odds. Minus 1,500 plus 1,000. How do you see this one? Mansour can hit.
No, you're right, he can, and he was suspended for something called buprenorphine, and he actually fought Joey Dewatchko, who's on our next fight, Dazin. So if you haven't seen that wager yet, watch on the Zone for Saturday, March 9th, and also the Royal Albert Hall, the connection with Daniel Dubois. So we've tied all three of our wages together. 9-0 Daniel Dubois and 8 knockouts, like you mentioned. And when you look at this, it looks very similar. 8-0 with 7 knockouts for Efe Ajagba. But let's talk about the one that wasn't a knockout. All of his 7 knockouts, 6 were in the first round. Let's point that out. He's never fought an opponent with a losing record. The only one that wasn't a knockout was because Curtis Harper was disqualified. They rang the bell for round 1. Curtis Harper just walks out of the ring and leaves the stadium. So it's a disqualification. So the only guy he hasn't knocked out, he didn't get to punch, you see. And so 6 of the 7 he did knock out in round 1. So I'm going to predict he knocks out Mansour in the 3rd round. Mansour is a veteran at 23-3, 16 knockouts. I think he'll hold his own for a round or two, if nothing else because Ajagba is being cautious. But I still think a knockout comes fairly early. Definitely pick the under on this fight. No money on betting one particular guy. But if either one of them is going to win, it's going to be under that 9.5 if you can get the under at a positive, which is not likely with his record.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line with Mansour is Mansour's not going to walk out on this fight. Mansour is one of those guys who's got a good bit of street and a good bit of dog in him, and he's shown that throughout his career. He doesn't really back off. He recently fought Dominic Breazeale, who's been talked about as an opponent for Deontay Wilder. Breazeale and him got into exchanges where they both were hitting each other pretty damn hard. I think Mansour walked out there with a broken jaw. So Mansour is a guy that is a little bit different flavor for Ajagba, a big jump because Ajagba is in a situation where, a lot of first-round knockouts. One guy didn't even got into the ring and said, you know what, this doesn't look like a good idea. That's rare. That doesn't always happen. Fights fall apart and stuff like that, but for the guy to actually be in the ring and to leave, I don't know what that says, but it says something. I don't know if is he that impressive or was the other guy that not ready? Whatever it is, it's a unique story for the one knockout that he doesn't have, right? But I don't think he'll get out that early. The thing with Mansour, though, is if Mansour lets too much of that dog come out and he doesn't box a little, they get into exchanges, Mansour's going to be in trouble early.
Yeah. Well, maybe his best hope is also his worst strategy.
Yeah. The bottom line is Mansour's been, as I said, he fought Dominic Breazeale. He's been on the Premier Boxing Champions roster for a little bit. He's an older fighter. He's cashing in paydays, and he's putting in work. He hasn't been able to break through with a win. Here, Ajagba's a guy still trajectory heading upwards. It's unlikely Mansour is being bought in, hoping for the upset. At least the Premier Boxing Champions would like to see Ajagba get the win here.
Hey, thanks again. I love doing these wagerages with you. I hope our audience is enjoying them. Again, the dog pick is Abel Ramos at plus 165. There's 2 dog watches on the Zone for Saturday, 3-9. So watch all 3 of our wagerages for this week, and you'll be fully informed. Thanks again, Miguel. And
we've been looking at the PBC on Fox for March 9th, the headline fight. Shawn Porter and Yordenis Ugas for the WBC World Welterweight title. I'm Miguel Dorati, and he is ASP. We're the Cage Rage Podcast.